Hey gorgeous, this is episode number 341 and we have the wonderful Elena Bensonoff back on the show today.
Hi, this is Elena Bensonoff and you're listening to Heart Sells, podcast with Christine Schlonski. Enjoy.
I am so pumped to have Elena back on the show today. We are going to talk about how you can embody your experience and thrive. And also Elena is going to analyze some of the sales movies that most of the people I know are fascinated with, but never ever could connect with the hero because it's just not in alignment. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting episode. So just that you have a little bit of a background, Elena Bensonoff is an award-winning holistic practitioner. She is a consultant pharmacist and the founder of Holistic Inc. She is a pioneer in the fields of functional, regenerative, and energy medicine, and she has been sharing her gift of healing for over 20 years. She is using the clinical skills and medical intuition in her work and helps her client in reducing stress, ending digestive issues, overcoming chronic illness, and much more. She's also a #1 best-selling author in holistic medicine with her book, The Holistic Wisdom, Awakening the Inner Healer. I am so super pumped that she is back on the show today, so let's dive right in. Well, I am so super excited you are back on the show, Elena. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Christine. I'm excited to be back here with you.
Yeah, we had such a great conversation about frequencies and why it's important and what to look for. So in case people have missed that, they need to listen to that amazing, amazing episode. And today we want to talk about movies and the frequency of movies. And the reason to do this is because I often say to people, well, you do not want to feel like The Wolf of Wall Street or Glengarry Glen Ross or Boiler Room, those famous sales movies. They probably totally turned you off as a heart-centered, ambitious entrepreneur or as a spiritual person. So you do not want to identify with these kinds of people who basically take money and run. So you had this amazing idea about testing frequency and allowing me to send you some names of movies so we could check that out. But to be totally transparent, like the movie I want to know at first hand is like one of my favorites. It's Dirty Dancing. That, some kind of revealing my age, but when it came out, I just loved the music, right? I loved the story of how everybody got at the end what they wanted to get, and then all those dance moves. So let's just start with this one before we go into the others. And then you added a few amazing movies as well, where it's really about the empowerment and the good frequency. So
yes, I love that movie too. Well, let me give you a little background too, just so people can have an understanding, because films, of course, leave an imprint. They interact with our field. And of course, there's so many other things we can test, because you talk about music, so the music can be tested separately, right? And all these other things. But overall, as a movie, it has a very specific vibration. And one thing I wanted to say, as far as businesses, we actually have people reach out to us and ask to test vibrational frequency of their own company, vibrational frequency of their own website, to see if it's in alignment with and in full transparency of what it is that they're doing and how they're being and showing up in the world. So, and if other people will be feeling these frequencies. So this is, I think, very important, because you also said that there's certain sales movies you don't want to associate with. And it's also important to test vibrational frequency of your company. I think this will be a great idea. But anyway, your favorite movie, Dirty Dancing. I love that movie too. Yes. One of them. Yeah, I love that movie too. Very much. I've seen it probably many, many times. So we talk about frequencies from 0 to 1,000, 1,000 being fully integrated human experience. We've tested a couple of avatars that walked this planet with this frequency. And also, we actually recently did an episode on artists and composers, famous composers like Mozart, Beethoven. We did Leonardo da Vinci. And in some of their charts, because we look at different categories, they have categories where they have 1,000 frequency in their creativity, which is absolutely divine flow, no resistance. And it's so beautiful to see. Of course, they have other frequencies that they experience life through, whether it was addiction or courage. So you could see the beauty of what makes up a human experience, right? And how these different characters contributed to the human experience. But Dirty Dancing. It's a Dirty Dancing film. Overall vibrational frequency is 30 out of 1,000. And 30 is an emotion. So this has to do with unprocessed emotion of guilt. Wow. That's the frequency that it brings out. And I thought this is very interesting because I love this film as well. But somehow that guilt feeling is being played. And that's the frequency that the film is projecting out.
So what happens actually? So when you love that movie so much, and I don't know, I stopped counting, but I watched it a lot of times.
Me too. I've seen it many times.
I dreamed about being able to do all the dance moves and stuff. Yes. So, but hopefully I was more focused on the dancing instead of the guilt. But what does it do if you are not aware, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware. So what does it do to people if they are not aware and they consume movies or music or information that is at such a low level of frequency?
It will impact you, absolutely. So everything impacts us, whether it's having a positive impact or a negative impact. And maybe for you, you took out the best parts, but it would be interesting for you to sit down and see what emotions it triggered within you besides liking the dance moves, right? But what else was there? And what narrative were you attaching to? So we all have our own different stories we're attached to, but becoming conscious and aware, because I think through the film, we also learn about ourselves. You know, one of the darkest films that I like to talk about, which I didn't measure the frequency of that film, is Batman and Joker. I think it's called
I didn't even
Dark Knight, right? And I didn't measure the frequency of that film, but the reason I'm bringing this up is to put this into perspective. Every human being plays a character. You're playing a character in this lifetime, being Christine. I'm playing a character of being Elena. And let's say we're both playing in the light. So looking from a divine perspective, right? Actors or the characters from a soul level incarnate here to play out a shadow role or a light role. So think of it, I always think of it as a Batman who's playing the light in the light, and Batman is playing, or the Joker is playing in the shadow role. So from a higher perspective, they're both actors, they're both probably great individuals, but one has to embody the dark and the other one is embodying the light. And then seeing who in this film you resonate with. You see? And it's not about making somebody right or wrong, but understanding that they both are important in having this experience, right? And having, for the Batman to rise, and I think at the end he says that he's not going to kill the Joker because Joker is important, right? His role is important. So I would say it's important to look at yourself when you're watching movies. And I think the more conscious you become and aware of yourself, then you can see exactly what it is that it's being played out and how do you connect and where do you connect to certain narratives and stories.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah, I didn't watch the movie. I just didn't like the setting. Dark. It was too dark.
Very dark.
I'm very conscious in what I consume. It's kind of fun, actually. I'm not, before I didn't see the trailer. Most of the time, just seeing the, how do you say, the advertisement, like the poster, so to speak, I can already tell you I'm not watching that movie.
Yes.
And then if something intrigues me, I watch the trailer, and to the amusement of my husband, he's always like, well, this is kind of child safe. You can watch that.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not going to put this in my mind because I know like a picture you once seen will be there forever. So I refuse to put garbage into my mind. I want it to be beautiful and feel great about it. So it's really interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's one of the darkest movies. I did not expect that, but totally explains why I was so firm about not watching it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move to those typical sales movies. How about The Wolf of Wall Street? I think that was the most recent one that I've seen
Yes.
as a sales movie.
Yeah. So most of these films, actually, The Wolf of Wall Street being one of them, is playing out at a frequency of 25, which is a frequency of shame. So this is why so many people, well, there's a lot of people that love this film, right? But these are the frequencies of, the shame, the guilt. It's really from what you're talking about. Of course, the heart cells. This is as far out and much disconnected from heart frequency because it's playing out on the lower frequencies of the shame. So frequency of 25.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally fascinating. The story is fascinating. I mean, how far you can go basically and how much money you can have. But, when you really look at it, I see that shame playing through the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. So another one I know that a lot of salespeople, especially men, rave about is Boiler Room. Where are we with Boiler Room?
Boiler Room vibrational frequency is 50. And 50 actually is a very interesting frequency. It's something Alejandro and I see quite often. It's a frequency of apathy, but also frequency of manipulation. So whenever there's a shield of apathy, it makes a person very calculated manipulator. So this particular movie is playing out at that particular frequency, manipulation, apathy, 50.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, just while you were talking, I was thinking about some websites I have looked at recently and some clips on YouTube of sales trainers where they go like to that extreme, a little bit like in Boiler Room. There's a scene like, if you don't want to go with a Ferrari, like get out of here. You're kind of not worth like being even here, like challenging people to have those big status dreams. And, if you don't wear the tailored suit and the white shirt and the silk tie, and if you do not have your Rolex or something else, then you're just not worth it. And I see that over and over again in the market. And those people, they push, of course, it's a lot of force behind it. They push into the market and they push other people who are fascinated by the material gains to become these salespeople that then show up and give you the feeling like, if you don't buy today, you are not worth anything. You don't value yourself. And it's incredible to see because all those heart-centered entrepreneurs, they are so turned off. But somehow still people cultivate that manipulative, masculine energy in pretending there's no other way. And they throw around with big numbers. I closed deals, high 5 figures, 6 figures, but I didn't run around in the market letting everyone know. It was just great. Yeah, I celebrated that. And I celebrated my clients who said yes and who I did get to serve, but not in that way because that number was important. So how can people know when they are going into a sales conversation what to be careful of or what to look for? How can they differentiate a person that cares from a person that really is just there to take the money and will do anything to get it? That I know there is a feeling and I can feel it, but if someone is not or has not been in many sales conversations, they might not even realize it. Do you have some advice around that?
I would say everything is a feeling. Everything is a feeling. And the description that you just gave about the Ferraris and all these other things, this is what I call hijacking of the matrix. As long as you're going to participate and play into that game, you will always be entrapped. So really the key is to honor yourself. Of course, know what's important to you. That's number one. If that's important to you, then you're part of that, which there's nothing wrong with it. That's just who you are. Admit it, own it. But I would say majority probably of your listeners and business owners who are in their hearts, your heart will always, always tell you the truth. trust the feeling. You don't have to give an answer right away. You have to go within. And if somebody's pushing you, then you need to take a couple of steps back, tune in, listen in. There's no emergency. Nothing is an emergency unless you're having a heart attack and you need an operation as soon as possible. Everything else, you can make a decision about later. So if somebody's pressuring you or making you not feel at ease, make you feel uncomfortable, then it's time to take a couple of steps back and listen to your inner guidance and your inner voice.
Yeah, beautiful. And I totally agree. I love beautiful things, right? Nothing against a Ferrari. It's a beautiful car, but it's just that male dominated, rah-rah. I don't even know how to express that. It's a feeling. And it's like overpowering, overruling. And I think we are over it. It was the whole world is kind of over this behavior. There is a new way. There is a way where you can trust your clients. I trust my clients to make the right decision. I trust that they will feel if I'm the right person for them. They don't need me to tell them. I want people that are empowered and who do the work. So if I tell them they need me, otherwise, they're never going to be happy for the rest of their lives. That's just not working. That's old paradigm. And I think it's so time to shift all of that and to get it into the light.
And I think collectively we're seeing this right now since 2020. Everything is being, in a way, dismantled. People are forced to look within. And that's the beauty, I feel, that 2020 and now we're in 2021 that's coming out, is having the absolute clarity of truly what is important. And yes, it's wonderful to have nice things, but ultimately your health matters, your well-being matters, and how you feel. How do you ultimately feel? Because it doesn't matter how many things you buy, it will never fulfill you on a soul level. It will never make you feel good. So it's about understanding, yes, you can enjoy nice things, but ultimately everything you're seeking exists within you.
What a beautiful reminder. I just love hearing that. I never get tired of hearing it. I think you need a reminder every single day that it's all within already. I used to wear a bracelet that said it's all within.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, just, when I wanted to shift out of corporate into being my own boss, and, you touched on that, like letting go of a paycheck, especially if you have achieved that level, it's intimidating, it's frightening, and stepping into having faith, trusting that all is working out for your highest good because you're willing to give and you're willing to stay in your heart. That's something. So that bracelet really helped me over that period of time. Yeah, love it. So you brought other movies, and I gave you one movie where I thought that is a movie where it tells a story about someone who really empowered herself. She found the right mentor. It looked like she didn't have any chance at the beginning, but she worked herself through all of it and she succeeded. And the movie I'm talking about is $1 Million Baby. Tell us about that frequency.
Yeah, that movie's frequency is also 25, which is shame.
Wow.
Shame.
Yeah. Incredible. Wow. I did not expect that at all, because it was such a inspiring story that you can work yourself up to wherever you want to go and be.
One thing I noticed in doing readings, thousands of readings of people, is a lot of times it's really all about unprocessed emotion that we carry throughout life that either makes us very successful or not. And a lot of times we see people who are very successful that we've read, who have an underlying frequency of 100, let's say in their finances, right? Because we look at finances, health, personal growth, relationships, creativity, philanthropy, intuition. There's many aspects that we look in. 100 fear frequency in finances, okay? We've read quite a few extremely successful people. And combine that with high ego, but we test, there's two different types of ego, inferior or superior. So in most cases, it's the inferior ego where you're never good enough. And you have this driving force, which is the fear of failure. And that sometimes is a combination that makes people successful, but also ultimately the undercurrent, I call it the silent undercurrent, that ultimately makes you very unhappy. Because no matter how much success you achieve, you feel you're never good enough. So looking into the unprocessed emotion. So in this particular movie, the unprocessed emotion is shame.
Yeah.
And maybe that was her driving force in her success.
Yeah.
Right.
I can so see that, the struggle getting out of that social standard and her family pulling her back in, and she wanted the success and money. Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah.
So it's all about how much that emotion is playing out in your life. But in this case, this emotion is a predominant emotion of the film. It's the predominant frequency.
Wow. So you brought us some other movies.
Yes, I did.
Because I was like, oh, this is going to test high. Like Dirty Dancing is going to be going through the roof, right? So much good music and dance moves and love and light and also a little bit tragedy and drama, of course. But it's a Hollywood movie, so you need a certain mix to attract a lot of people into the movie. Yeah, let's talk about those where you found they're really empowering. They have an amazing frequency. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So I thought, well, let's find some movies that are inspiring and powerful from a female perspective, right? So we tested Erin Brockovich. Erin Brockovich film tested at a frequency of 450. 450 is reason, high intellect. So this film's frequency embodies what it is like to have a powerful mind. So when you set your goal and achieve, in her case, she did, right? She revealed all this information. So this is a very different frequency of 450 versus 25. And then it's amazing. And then we looked into a film, Hidden Figures. Hidden Figures, which I haven't seen, but after reading the frequency, I want to see this. The frequency of the film is 540. 540 is the frequency of joy. So it raises your vibration. So if you're watching this movie, it actually will contribute to raising your own vibrational frequency because you're in the frequency of joy, true joy.
Yeah, I loved both of those movies. They're just wonderful and empowering. Also a bit shocking. I mean, there's, the darkness is revealed, so to speak.
Yes.
And that struggle those people had. But it's beautiful to hear that they're at such high frequency.
Yes. And then another movie we just tested is The League of Their Own, which is a story based on a true story of a group of women that created a baseball league, the first baseball league. I don't remember. I think it might have been during World War II. We'll have to check on that. But the overall frequency, this talks about what it's like to build something together as women, community, heart. This movie embodies the frequency of 525, which is a frequency of love. So again, a very different frequency than the ones that are in the lower vibrations.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what advice would you love to give our listeners that they can embody more of this in their day-to-day life and help their businesses grow, their positive impact, and also be aware of what path not to go down to, because it's not going to be a good one?
Yes. I would say it's important to embody what you're wanting from your clients, what you're teaching. So if you're teaching love, if you're teaching integrity, if you're teaching success, you have to embody all those aspects within yourself first. You have to master yourself first. In order to do that, you have to face your own shadows, what I call shadows, unprocessed emotions. So perhaps every morning, set a goal for yourself where you say 3 things you love about yourself, looking in the mirror. And I know that it sometimes can be very difficult, but make sure they're unique. Every day, it's going to be something new and unique that you're going to say to yourself. So find the best things you love about yourself and don't run away from shadow parts of you. So if there is unprocessed fear, face your fear. Perhaps it's about journaling. What it is that scares you. Because I can guarantee you that your biggest fear a lot of times is blown out of proportion in your head. And it's a lot smaller once you write it down or perhaps talk about it with your friend or someone that you trust that will give you honest feedback.
Yeah. Totally. And sometimes there's like the biggest treasure hidden behind that shadow. Like once you processed it and that weight is taken off of your shoulders,
Yes.
then, I'm just, what just came to mind is the fear of speaking, right? So many people have that fear of being on a stage, but once you go through it, can blow up your business in a beautiful way because you can reach so many more people.
Yes. And another thing I will say is be courageous, be curious, be flexible, and don't judge yourself too hard. Remind yourself of how great you truly are doing, because your journey is unique to you. And it takes courage to be you. You're unique. No one else is like you. So appreciate yourself.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so, so much. This was so much fun and enlightening.
Thank you.
So maybe this tests at 1,000. I don't know.
It feels really good.
It's very good, yes.
Very good.
And I just want to make sure, so all the links to you are in the show notes, so people can connect, they can learn more about what you do, what you offer, and how to connect to maybe check their own frequency or the frequency of the business, or what are they creating. And I just want to say thank you so, so much for taking the time for testing and doing the work before hopping onto this conversation. And it has been wonderful.
Thank you, Christine. I really enjoyed spending this time with you, and you're a beautiful person. Thank you.
Wow, what an interesting episode. I hope this was fun for you too. I never would have guessed that one of my favorite movies, Dirty Dancing, that I watched so often, had such a low frequency. This quite amazes me still. And also all the rest of this conversation with Elena was just amazing. So hop on over to christineschlonski.com, find the podcast tab. You will have all the links that connect to Elena, the resources we talked about, as well as the show notes and a transcript. So I hope you really, really enjoyed. Once you're over at christineschlonski.com, make sure you take that opportunity and you sign up for the empowerment notes. That's empowerment right into your inbox. And also, I would love for you to give Heart Cells Podcast a rating and a review. You can do that on iTunes, on Stitcher, and it would really help the podcast to get seen more, to get noticed more, and to have more listeners, or give more listeners the opportunity to tune into these amazing experts that they might miss out on otherwise. Thank you so, so much for having been here. Have an amazing day wherever you are in this beautiful world. And I'm saying bye for now.